Welcome to Das Geek. 2 years ago, I did a video on openSUSE Tumbleweed, talked about how much I loved it, and it's time we take a look at openSUSE Tumbleweed again. I've been using it for the past month, doing Destination Linux, doing my YouTube videos. I've been editing these videos, by the way, utilizing Blender, so I could learn more about Blender's interface, which has been a joy. So if you checked out any of my prior videos, those are all edited in Blender, and I'm learning more and more each time. This video will be edited in Blender in openSUSE Tumbleweed. One of the reasons I absolutely love openSUSE Tumbleweed is because it proves all of the naysayers wrong. All of the people out there who are like, no, you have to have a completely non-rolling distro to be stable. And openSUSE Tumbleweed's like, oh yeah, watch us. We're going to create a completely rolling distribution like an Arch, but we're going to make it so stable for the users out there, and they still can have all of the latest desktop environments, all the latest applications, all the latest Mesa drivers, all the latest hardware enablement inside the kernel, and it's going to be completely foolproof. And that's what openSUSE Tumbleweed set out to do, and that is what they accomplished. So the people out there who are stuck on this idea you can't have a rolling distro and have stability, you're wrong, and openSUSE Tumbleweed completely proves it. Another thing that they really kind of beat back the naysayers on is ButterFS. They were one of the first distros I know of that completely adopted the ButterFS file system. Now, of course, you'll see it in Red Hat and Fedora and other things, but ButterFS was utilized here first, and what this allowed them to do is make it so that you could do rollbacks and have snapshots that you could go back to in your system in case you did an update and the software wasn't compatible or didn't work the way you needed it to, or your applications needed to use an older version. You could always roll back your software or roll back that update so that you could still continue to use your machine and not have it break on you, which was just an amazing compromise of being able to take this rolling distro concept and then create the stability in it through the snapshot and rollback system. It's absolutely brilliant. We're also going to take a look at the user experience. This is the area where openSUSE Tumbleweed needs to work on the most. Now, it's much more user-friendly than, say, an Arch install out there, as it's meant to be, but there are some quirks in there and things I would love to see changed, and we're going to get into all of that in this video. I got some good news. When I was recording that intro you saw earlier, GNOME 42 hadn't released, but it wasn't but a day later GNOME 42 released on openSUSE Tumbleweed. So I want to add into the video, different day, different hat. We got our openSUSE, we're representing proper. We got our EFF representing proper. We're going to check out GNOME 42 while we're at it, looking at all the cool things and features here in openSUSE Tumbleweed. Now, let's get into it. So the first thing we have to do is just put some respect on the beauty that is the openSUSE Tumbleweed with the GNOME desktop environment here. I mean, look how clean everything is. You don't have files and folders and things all over the place. You've just got a very clean experience. And if I just pop right over here into the hot corner, it's going to open up a nice tray here where I can get to all the applications I have installed. Very well done. You can see all my virtual desktops. I have it set so that it automatically always has 4 desktops or workspaces that I can play in. But I have access to all of my apps. I can start typing for an app. Like if I want to check out Bitwarden, I could do that. That was not a plug, by the way, for Bitwarden. Okay, maybe it was a little bit. But the point is, everything in GNOME 42 and GNOME period is just very clean and crisp. They've done an amazing job with that here. And so you got to respect that beauty. But before we get into after you've installed openSUSE Tumbleweed, let's talk about the installation process itself. This is one of those areas where the installation process works like most. You're going to click next on a lot of things. In fact, it improved greatly with the partition selection options when you're doing the install. So let's say you have other operating systems or multiple hard drives in your machine. openSUSE Tumbleweed, in this case, I had erased a drive. It went and tried to install on the erased drive like it's supposed to. So that's an improvement from 2 years ago. Last time I was hanging out with openSUSE Tumbleweed, where it was kind of trying to overwrite another drive that I had that already had an operating system on it. So I think they've done some fantastic work there. The one area that still needs work, and I think everybody, even in the openSUSE development team, knows this is the case, is when it comes to selecting in the YAST installer your network or your Wi-Fi. If you're using Wi-Fi, if you're using Ethernet, it's going to work beautifully. You're not even going to notice it. like you're seeing here in this installation screen in a virtual machine. However, if you're using Wi-Fi, then you have to do these additional unnecessary steps. It requires you to kind of select your network adapter first, then you have to edit it, then you can go in and search for an available Wi-Fi connection, and no other Linux distro really requires you to jump through those hoops with that. You would just select Wi-Fi and then it would give you automatically a list and you would connect and you would be good. So little things like that for a brand new user who's wanting to use openSUSE Tumbleweed as their first experience in Linux may get turned off by that or may not be able to figure out what they're supposed to set up there. So just a little quirk that I think if they could put some finesse on that and fix that and make it work like other installers, it'll be much, much better. But again, huge props to them for all the work they did on the partition selector there. So I don't think we can go any further talking about openSUSE Tumbleweed unless we talk about the YAS Control Center. I should say we shouldn't go any further in talking about any SUSE product until we talk about the YAS Control Center. Because to me, this is one of the absolute standout features that they have. The YAS Control Center, if somebody who's wanting to get into networking, wanting to get into network administration, is in network administration, this simplifies everything because all the tools that you're going to need are in one place. It's called the Control Center. You can't forget it. Very easy, very well organized. For instance, over here you have your categories, which you can see as we click, it selects down in the categories. But if I want to do things like I want to mess with my firewall, I want to make sure that my firewall is set up properly, I can do that through here. My security center, my user and group management, remote administration. If I want to do software repositories, I want to add or remove software, everything, look at my logs, everything is controlled in one place in this Control Center. If I was going to go about learning networking and getting into system administration with Linux and things, I would definitely be using an openSUSE product like openSUSE or openSUSE Leap because you've got this Control Center that you can start playing with and learning what all these different things do, learn how to configure these different elements, and that's going to help you along your journey. This to me is one of the coolest features of all. Now in your software management here, this is where we can go and install different packages that we want on the system. Maybe we want to add Bitwarden or Blender or some of the other packages. We can go in here and do this. Now, one of the quirks that I would say with YAS software management tool is the amount of time it takes to update itself. You see, I want to get a package installed, but I kind of had to wait for it to update itself there. But even when you're doing system updates, like if you do a zipper dupe, it just takes a long time. And I think that's because those servers are mostly overseas or something, but there just seems to be a long delay when you're doing an installation with these things, at least when it's doing the initial update. Once it has the package and it's installing it, it goes fairly quickly. But that's one of the things that I would say is very different than my experience, say, in Arch or Fedora and other distros, is just the length of time it takes to connect to these repositories to pull your software in. It's a small quirk. It's not a deal breaker, but just something to keep in mind that it may feel a little slower at times with those things because of that update process. But here's where we could get our software. So maybe if we want to pick up Blender, and of course the combination of this software center with Flatpaks as well just pretty much gives you access to every piece of software you could ever imagine. In fact, if we take a look at all the software that we have installed here, I've got everything that I do Destination Linux, editing these videos, which I've been using Blender for a while here, as I mentioned in the intro. Of course, my terminals, Carla controls, Jack for audio. We've got Jitsi, Me, Jupyter, information extensions, gaming, of course, which we'll check out later because it's a rolling distro. It games very, very well in there. Lutris, my only office setup for my office programs, Kden Live again for video editing, OBS, of course, Show Photo, all of these cool things. Speaking of GNOME 42, one of the cool features about GNOME 42 is hitting your print screen. So this is not just an openSUSE thing, because this is the GNOME desktop that I'm talking about, GNOME 42 specifically, but you hit print screen and you have this screenshot tool. Now from here, I can literally record my desktop. I can hit record, or I can do a selection where I want to do a screenshot of on my screen, or I can just do the whole screen, or I can select a window, and it's going to give me an option of windows here that I could do a screenshot of. Just a really cool tool, and you access all of that by just simply hitting your print screen. This is a true feature that GNOME's doing to simplify the process of interacting with your machine. really awesome. One of my favorite features of GNOME 42 right there. Just hit that print screen button and you can access all of those features within. Now, one of the things that is a little confusing is that everything is named YAST. So if we open up and just do YAST here, you have your YAST control center, but you can't really see the control center text there. You see the control center icon, which is good enough. You'll learn it, but again, it doesn't say control center. Then you have YAST alternative, I think, then YAST app armor, YAST firewall, YAST sound. Everything kind of has YAST to it, but you can notice no software installation or anything there. But if I type in software, now I have YAST software and YAST software. Now, one of these is for adding and removing software, and one of them is for repository configuration. But if you don't know these icons, that can be pretty confusing. So one of my recommendations for them is to simplify the naming scheme across this, especially since I've got a 4K monitor here. It can't display all of the text and tell me this is YAST software, add remove software, or this is YAST software for configuring the repositories or things. Again, you could just go to control panel and control everything there, but it's a little quirky that everything is named YAST, and that can create confusion. And beside the fact that the naming doesn't go all the way across, so they could probably do something there to just call one add remove software and the other for repository, software repository management, that type of thing, instead of just having YAST for everything there, and then just have YAST control center, because that's really where you want people to go anyways. So this is interesting that this is popping up right now, because this is an issue I've been running into lately with Package Kit. Now, this may be my fault, because what I did is I installed KDE Desktop first, and then I went into the software, which I'll show you here in a moment, and chose GNOME and undid the KDE stuff. So I think I have fragments of the other, but Package Kit continues to kind of get in conflict where it thinks it's busy or something is using the installation process when I don't have anything else open. And I can even do a full reboot and sometimes come across this. So I don't know if this is a quirk because of the way I did my installation, starting out with KDE and then switching over. But either way, it's something that needs to be addressed. So I'll be opening a bug report on that, but it's not a huge deal to fix. It's just one of those things that's kind of minorly frustrating here. And you see it eventually gets out of its own way. Package Kit releases, and I can go in here and start messing with things. But again, that's what I've noticed about openSUSE Tumbleweed, is that the overall stability and functionality of the system is the best out there. I mean, having ButterFS and snapshots and being able to roll back, I've not even had to do that once, but I use this as my production machine to record Destination Linux every Sunday. All of those things work beautifully. I've never had a system issue happen, but there are little road bumps in the way, like the Package Kit thing, that when I need to do an update or add software things, I'll come across a little thing. I'll have to click, yes, please kill the Package Kit process, and eventually it will kill it for me, and then I can get in there and do that. Now, I don't know if the installation again was messed up by me, but that is one of the things I would love to see them work on, is really fixing that user experience. If they did a sprint with the developers, the amazing developers that work on this, to kind of clean up some of that UX design stuff, I think this would be one of the perfect distros out there on the market, bar none. One of the really cool things in here is called patterns. And patterns allow you to do very powerful software changes within your system. For instance, going from KDE or XFCE to GNOME, or going from GNOME to XFCE. So if I go into the patterns for the KDE Plasma 5 desktop base, you can see I have some remnants here. Some of this stuff is used by Kdenlive and other KDE applications that I have, but I could literally just click this and install and have KDE installed as a desktop environment as well. Maybe I'm trying to choose between GNOME and KDE. And then when I want to get rid of it, I can go here and just remove that. I can go here and just click it and delete. And then it's going to actually start going through the deletion process. I'm going to cancel that because I don't really want to delete it. And we'll go back to keep there. But you have the ability of a whole series of software. And they even have this for desktop functions like multimedia. I want everything that can be done with multimedia installed. Then I can go here and I can see any of the patterns of multimedia packages that are grouped together that I might want to install. You can see I already have quite a bit installed, but if I wanted Audacity, Amarak, and all these deepened things and FLAC and stuff, I can add all of that in one click here. Instead of having to add each package individually, I have a pattern for that. They even have proprietary software options for patterns here, and then development patterns, base technologies, micro OS work that they're doing, and other things. So this is just a really cool additional feature you're not going to find in other software stores. The ability in these patterns to install groups of software instead of having to install one thing at a time. Another cool feature that makes openSUSE Tumbleweed truly unique. Going back to GNOME 42 real quick, look at these beautiful icon themes here. Really goes well with this dark theme, which is another option in GNOME 42. So if we go here and go settings, we can take a look at some of our configuration options here. So if we go into appearance, we now have a light and dark theme. So I can go completely light here. Looks very nice and bright if you like that. If you prefer dark theme, like most people seem to these days, then you can do that. I did notice that if you went to a browser and you right clicked on a picture and made that your wallpaper, and then you switch to dark theme, that it actually will just make your background completely black. You have to take the picture that you downloaded and go and add it here so that the wallpaper stays with the dark theme. In addition, in this dark theme, it also requests it from apps as well. So any apps that have the dark theme setting, when you open them, it will move those to the dark theme if they have that option available, which is really nice feature. Also, the settings themselves have been revamped so that when you're messing with your desktop environment, your search results you want to change, your multitasking here, number of workspaces, I chose fixed, you have dynamic, but everything here has been revamped to kind of clean it up, make it really easy to get into all the various settings that you need to, all in one easy to control place. So anything related to your desktop or accessibility, you can do through the system settings thanks to the work the GNOME 42 team did here. Now, last but not least, let's do some gaming, because Elden Ring is probably one of the coolest games that has come out this entire year. I'm very obsessed with it. I'm really terrible with it, but I'm just going to show you the amazing work at Code Weavers and Valve and Steam have done to make so many games accessible to us. And being on a rolling distro means I get the latest Mesa, I get the latest kernel, I get the latest hardware enablement. So if you have a beast of a machine like me, you want to be on a rolling distro, in my opinion, or a semi-rolling distro like a Fedora, an openSUSE, or an Arch, and you're just going to have a fantastic gaming experience all the way around. I mean, another amazing thing is I'm using an Xbox controller here in Linux. Like I could use the PlayStation 5 controller, PlayStation 4 controller, an Xbox controller, all of these things. Just absolutely amazing time to be in Linux. If you've tried Linux in the past and didn't like it, give it another shot. Make openSUSE Tumbleweed one of those distros you give a shot to, because it's absolutely beautiful. And I have to give a huge shout out to my patrons who make all of this possible. Your support means so much to me. And I do a podcast just for my patrons, which is kind of a weekly security podcast. And they get access to Hardware Addicts podcast before anybody else. All kinds of cool little treats like that. But mainly just my huge thanks for allowing me to do stuff. And DigitalOcean sponsors the entire Destination Linux network, all of our shows, all of our YouTube channels. Michael Tennell's channel, my channel, if you like Linux Out Loud, the Pseudo Show, all of that stuff is thanks to DigitalOcean. If you need any cloud services to set up a website, you want to get a network, server administration, anything like that, do me a favor, head to this link, do.co, just type do.co/tux, TUX 2022. Tux is what we call the penguin in Linux. So do.co/tux 2022. They're going to give you $100 credit to play with. You can set up a bunch of $5 droplets, do $100 droplet for a month, whatever you want there. Check out DigitalOcean, 5,000 cloud agnostic tutorials. If you want to do anything cloud networking related, they're the place to go. All right, let's check out gaming. So we're in Elden Ring here. You can see in Tumbleweed, we're playing with an Xbox controller. Absolutely gorgeous graphics. I'm on a 4K screen here. Of course, we've got to play in 4K. I have not played this game in so long. I am not ready to take on any big enemies, so we won't be going for anybody big here. Maybe we'll look for like a little soldier walking around. I know you watch all these videos of people killing bosses and stuff, but that's not me right now. I have to work up to it. We'll kill one of these soldiers over here. Let's do that. Let's do that. And I think... can I call one of my spirit friends to help me out? I can. That's what I'm talking about. So this is just an absolutely amazing game. I'm terrible at it. I really am terrible at it, but I love this game so much. It's just such a great game, and you will realize how bad you are at gaming when you play it. But when you do finally defeat a boss, when you finally get a kill in there, it's just an amazing experience. It really is. I don't even know what I'm attacking at this point. I think I was locked onto the wrong thing. I got you, Wolf. Look, I'm doing pretty good. Thank goodness on video. Don't leave your comments below about how bad I'm really doing. Don't do it. Just because I have ghost spirits helping me on very basic enemies way below my level. I don't want to hear it. Okay, I do. Sometimes your comments are pretty dang funny. All right, so we've got some bolts and things here. But this is the idea. Look, everything is running brilliantly smooth. I have the soundtrack turned off, of course, because I don't want to get copyright stricken. But you can just see how amazing this game is. All right, this guy is actually really hard. He killed me like a bajillion times when I first started in this level. He's just, you know, and he's just a regular casual. He's not even a boss or anything. He's just a filthy casual. No, I dodged that. This game's a lot of dodging. That's the one thing that's kind of funny. It's like it's not necessarily realistic with the combat when you think about it. Like, imagine being in medieval times and you just roll around 500 times and enemies are slashing at you. But you can just see how beautiful this game is. It's just gorgeous. And openSUSE Tumbleweed runs it amazing. So check out openSUSE Tumbleweed. Leave your comments below. I love my patrons. Thank you so much for your support. And until next time, get out there and fill your brains.